Okay, let's go, guys. So thank you again so much for waiting, and sorry for the delay. I have a beautiful presentation ready for you, in which we're going to look at creating some monitoring tools for your LoRaWAN network. My company, IoT Experts, what we do is we bring digital connectivity and agtech to agtech and environmental monitoring solutions. I work with a lot of agtech startups, and we're trying to solve the communications needs when we're deploying in rural areas. And this is why I work a lot with LoRaWAN. And yeah, it's fun. I try to be a solutions guy and to bring market-ready solutions when it's possible. And when not, we do our own development and R&D. So in this workshop, guys, we're going to learn a few interesting things. First, we're going to look at why do we need a LoRaWAN network solution, monitoring solution, and why do I need additional tools for it if I already have a network server? What solutions are currently on the market and which ones are open source? Which solutions did I select and why? And we're going to actually have some hands-on experience here in how to set up a LoRaWAN network monitoring tool using the V3 stack that was just released for the community, or in the Enterprise Edition, which I already had used before. Then we'll have some discussion about that. So why do I need to monitor? Why do you need to monitor your LoRaWAN network? While a lot of LoRaWAN networks have the promise of having a public network where the infrastructure is not provided by you, a lot of us, both professionals and hobbyists, like to deploy our own networks, which means that we need to monitor it and maintain it. Even on the public networks, we still need to maintain and monitor our devices. Why do we need to monitor devices? Well, there's a few things that can go wrong. The more the scale goes up, the more the challenges of maintaining all those devices intact come along. So even when we have a few devices, same issues can occur, right? We can have packet loss, which is data loss. We can have high transmission rates, which will drain our batteries faster. We can have network joining loops. We can have firmware loops where you think your device is operational, but it's actually sending the same message again and again and again. A device can go offline and never wake up. A device can be hacked or tampered or moved. A device can also have low battery. When we're monitoring the network, we should also consider our gateways, right? Not always that we can have redundancy of gateways, so our gateway becomes a big single point for failure. So we have different things that can happen to a gateway, right? It can get disconnected from the network server while it might still have network connectivity. It can also lose power. A gateway can also have no network connectivity at all. It can be stolen or vandalized. And your SIM card might be pulled out and used by someone else. So we really need to keep track on those gateways. Of course, the network server itself is also a component that needs to be considered, right? And if you're running your server, the LNS yourself, your server can go offline. The stack itself can crash. Or if it's an embedded network server, LNS is a LoRa network server for those who are not familiar with this term. So the gateway can also crash, right? And your LNS can also get hacked. So all those things can happen to your network on top of whatever application you are actually doing in the world, right? So if you are doing environmental monitoring, there can be a flood going on, or of course. So, but that's on top of that, you need to make sure the network and the device and the connectivity is there. So hopefully this quick review of bad things that can happen to your network didn't scare you so much, and so that you decide to ditch wireless and go wired. Although in some cases, if you can wire it, maybe you should. So let's look at some tools that exist for us today to monitor our network. What are some of the solutions, and also which ones are open source? I do want to give a disclaimer here that initially I designed this workshop to use Grafana, InfluxDB, and Telegraph. But as I was building this and making the integration with the V3 stack, I actually decided on a different stack that we're going to use here. But I will still give you great resources to do this TIG stack and I found some awesome tutorials on how to do it quite quickly. So if you are a Grafana and you're excited for that, I have something in store for you as well. Now, I'm just going to have a quick look in the chat. So guys, everything is going good so far? Yes, okay. Just give me a thumbs up and I'll go back to the presentation, because I can't see you when I'm doing the full screen. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, let's do that. Okay, wait a second. Maximize this video. Okay, so what solutions are on the market? So the obvious stop is the network server itself, right? But in many cases, those network servers, they will only offer us live streaming of data and some backend API to query the data or to integrate into a database. So this is how it is for TTN2, TTN3, and ChirpStack. For paid servers, you might get some better tools to do it, but they will still be limited. And I know the market pretty well, and I've had experience with a lot of them. Normally, we will get like a packet viewer, some kind of log, maybe with history, maybe without history. The history will be limited to maybe 1 month. Normally, you will get some single device KPIs or single gateway KPIs where you can look at one device, but not on the full network, and you can't really learn what's going on in an installation where you only look in one device at a time. You will also get a lot of just the current status of the device. It's online, it's offline. If it's online, you know, maybe the last packet, what it was. So still limited. From those forecast network servers, the one I found with the best monitoring tools was LoRaWAN. They really have some really good tools in there. They also have an additional tool to monitor network servers called the log analyzer or something. It costs. It has some good, and for a reason. You run in a network, you want to monitor it, and monitoring tools will come with a cost. A close second is Kerlink Wenzi. If you guys are not familiar with it, it's the Kerlink network server. It's actually really nice and has some really nice KPIs where you can study. And like I said, it does have those limitations where a lot of the KPIs are per device or per gateway, but they do have some overview screens as well about your installation. So Kerlink does a pretty good job with that. So let's have a quick look at some of the open source network servers and about those missing monitoring capabilities that I'm referring to. So if we look at TTN version 3, for example, here I'm looking at an application screen. So we can see here, there is not much, right? I know they are working on bringing some of the features from V2 that are even missing here. Like from V2, you have the little green and red LED that tells you it's connected or it's not connected. If you're familiar with V2, you will know that that LED doesn't necessarily mean that a packet was sent in the last 24 hours, you know, sometimes. So it's not really useful. Here, I don't even have that. The only thing I have is a live data view. Even when I'm looking at a device drill down page here, I might be able to see the last seen information, location if it was published, and the live data. Now, live data is great. Don't get me wrong. When I'm looking at an issue and I want to explore it, live data is eventually where I'll go, and I do find annoying messages here. So, for example, here we can see there's a drop data message here. It's an issue. Okay, I can learn from it, but if it's not open, if it's not open, it will not record, and I don't have any history here. Here is ChirpStack. Hopefully you guys are familiar with ChirpStack. It's a great piece of code and software. I like it where we have options in the open source market for LoRaWAN. I like it that maybe they compete a little bit and try to get better, and it's a great driver for open source and LoRaWAN. I think that I'm kind of sidetracking a little bit, but I think that a lot of us love LoRaWAN because it's an open, unlicensed network, and we can all set up networks legally in our regions in the world. And tools like ChirpStacks, like TTN, are keeping it open. So I'm appreciative of it. With the latest versions of the ChirpStack app server, they did add this dashboard view. active devices, active gateways, data rate usage. It's basic, but it's a step towards the right direction. Here is an application view in ChirpStack. So same thing, I will see the last activity. So it does help me when I'm trying to see what's going on, if it's connected or it's not connected. This is obviously not active right now, this application, but it was. Some devices know how to report battery and link margin according to the LoRa's. They have some metadata that they send, and you'll see that here as well, but that's about it. Main view of the device, I can see when it was last connected. So you see very basic monitoring tools, can't really do much with it. So what are my options on the market for monitoring these network servers? So actually, I recently began to learn about RolaGuard. Sounds like they are building something really cool, more focused on cyber and security and defending your LoRa network, from what I could understand, but they might also have some general network monitoring as well. I think they also have an open source and an enterprise version of it. I saw a GitHub that you can install. They have a booth here at the conference, so if you haven't checked them out, do so. I'm planning on checking them out and installing it. Option number 2 is to push your data somewhere, right, from the LNS. And for that, I would say that, okay, we got to accept that the network server is meant to be a network server. It should do what network servers do best, which is manage your LoRaWAN network, which can be a complex thing, and we don't have to worry about it. We just want to provision our device, connect our gateway, and the magic happens. So, okay, we have to accept that maybe that's not their core business and they should not provide us with those details. It's arguable if you ask me, but okay, we'll go with that. We don't have a choice. So what do? We push the data out. We have to push the data out to a database, a different cloud provider, and use some kind of graphical interface to interact with the data. So the V3, for example, you will find tutorials on how to push your data to IoT platforms such as UBDots, DataCake, Akenza, Things.io, Thingsboard Professional. That's a great solution, both for what I'm talking about here, network monitoring, but also for application, creating a full application for your customers or for yourself. So awesome, I use all of those. I mean, I use UBDots a lot, and I use Thingsboard Professional. The other ones are great as well from what I can see. So what is out there though is open source and free, because obviously those companies will charge you something eventually for using their services. And you know, if you're setting up your application on one of those paid providers, then you're charging your customer money for it, and you can justify the cost of $1 per month per device or $50. But if you have 500 devices and you want to monitor their network operability, you might want a tool that doesn't cost you anything. It might be hard to justify another tool on top of the tools the customer is already paying for, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's good to have some kind of free or open source. It's not exactly free because you will need to host it, right? But free to use anyway. So what are my options when it comes to open source? So as far as the open source, really there's a few graphical tools that you can select, right, in the market. One recommendation, which is awesome, is the TIG stack, which is Telegraph. Which, it's like a bridge that takes MQTT and pushes it into DBs like InfluxDB. InfluxDB, it's a time series optimized database. You can also use Postgres. And Grafana. Grafana is just a kick-ass graphical interpretation tool for databasing. Like I said, I was going to do this workshop and show you how to set up TIG. I found these two really cool guides. I will make these slides available on my LinkedIn and wherever else I can on the YouTube video of this when it shows up. You can really easily install the TIG stack with the Docker Compose based on this guide Frederick did. Awesome. You type a few lines and you have a full stack running, right? And with the DB and Grafana and everything. If you look at this guide, you will see the small changes you need to do in Telegraph. This is actually on the official documentation. So you just need to change the Telegraph configuration slightly to make this guide work easy, and go for it. So, and like I wrote here, what is the solution I selected and why? So, I decided to go with the ThingsBoard Community Edition, which is the free-to-use open source stack of IoT goodness, what I wrote here. I wanted to build something that might be a little bit more than just a graphical interface. I wanted to add maybe device management, maybe user management, and some automation, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel more comfortable doing it with something like an IoT platform versus then like a SQL graphical tool. I'm also a partner of ThingsBoard, so I build solutions in ThingsBoard all the time. I use the professional edition for most solutions, but so I decided to challenge myself and use the open source version here because it's free, and if you really know what you're doing, you can push it really far away. So like I said, there's no device limit or price. So to complete this stack, we will also use the ThingsBoard Gateway, which is also a free software. It's just awesome. I will give you more details about it shortly, but it's like Telegraph, where you have a bunch of connectors on one side, and it will push the data, map it, and push it into your ThingsBoard installation. Really cool. I want to stop here on something that you will see me using the term LP1 monitor a lot instead of LoRaWAN monitor. I just didn't feel like putting the trademark everywhere, right? And I saw what happened to ChirpStack, and I don't know if I ever published this open source LP1 monitor. I didn't want to have to change my name later. So LP1 stands for low power, wide area network. LoRaWAN is an LP1. Sigfox is an LP1. NB-IoT is an LP1, right? So let's have a look here. A little bit more about ThingsBoard and why I selected it. So ThingsBoard is probably the leading open source IoT platform on the market when it comes to complete platforms. There's other platforms that will offer you a backend, but this one is a complete solution. If you're not familiar with it, you will get to learn a little bit of it now. You can also install it pretty much everywhere, on-premise, on the cloud, on your Raspberry Pi, on your Ubuntu, Windows, Docker. You can also now do it on Kubernetes and Docker Compose, so it's really cool and scalable. The gateway that they provide, ThingsBoard Gateway, it's this magical little software, like I said, that sits right here, IoT Gateway. And I pointed to the middle of my screen. And it have all these different connectors. So for this demo, we're going to use the MQTT connector, okay? And we're going to connect it to our Things stack. So what are we building here today, guys? So we're going to build the we're going to build this pretty much. We're going to take the TTN network server. It could be enterprise. It can be community edition. It can be your own stack. And we're going to install the ThingsBoard Gateway. I actually have a Raspberry Pi 3 running here connected to my home router. So I'm going to use that to run the gateway. And I have the ThingsBoard CE set up on the AWS EC2. And so right before I'm going to give you a demo, I'm going to have a quick look here at the chat to see if you guys have any questions so far. Yes, hey guys. So any questions? I'm looking at the chat. Yes, nothing. So we'll keep going. Switch here back to this. Okay, so I want to show you guys what we're going to build. So this is the ThingsBoard installation zoomed out. Let me zoom here and make it okay. So if this is, I'm going to give you a quick rundown so you saw how I built it, and we'll keep going. ThingsBoard. So we have rule chains, right? It's a rule chain engine that is very flexible and dynamic, and will allow us to do all kinds of programming within here. So once we push the data into ThingsBoard, it goes through this kind of Node-RED flow-based programming, right? So we have telemetric data that comes in and attribute updates and requests, et cetera, et cetera. It's being saved to a database, and then I can forward it to other rule chains that I've created. So for example, I can create like an alert rule chain. we go. And I can decide that I count the messages, and once I have my message counted, I will save it as well as an attribute. I'm not going to dive too deeply into here. I'm just going to show you the monitor we created for this workshop, and then show you how to create it in quite easily. So here are my devices. So I have my devices here. Those are actually automatically pushed and created from once they show up on the network server. I will show you the network server in a moment. Each device will have its telemetric data, its attribute data, and I can active alarms, relationship logs, and etc. Then we have our dashboards here. So I created a template dashboard for this solution. It's a little laggy for some reason. Let's refresh the page. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you the application here that I created on the new things, TTN Network v3. So you all have access to it. You can register. So this is an application on here. Application is just if you're not familiar, it's where you will create a group of devices on the network stack, provision them, and then create some integration where you want to push the data to, and where you want, which collaborators will have access to here, et cetera, et cetera. And we will soon, I will show you how to set up the MQTT connection from here. So I have a test setup here with a few devices. Some of them are active as well. Let's go back to our things board. I will show you the dashboard. So here is the dashboard that I set up quickly for you guys to see. There is a map that shows the devices, a lot of options with the map. Right now, I'm just showing the devices and the latitude, but you can show a lot of stuff from here as well. Any active alarms that we set up, and we have our list of devices, right? So all my devices, and already I have some better information that I have on the network monitor, on the network server, right? I can see if they're active or not according to what I decided, program it to be like 5 hours or 10 hours or 10 minutes. I can see the latest data from them, and I can see when they were active or not. Here, we created some graphs just to show kind of like a network overview. Right now, I'm looking at the data from one application. We could also add a filter and look at data from different applications based on a filter. So these are all my active devices, and I can kind of see how they're doing and compare them. Some cool graphs, RSSI and SNR. We can see that, for example, sometimes, let's get some lines out of the way. So we can see the fluctuation. A lot of times, it really helps to look at RSSI and SNR as with a historical level, because it kind of really tells you, especially. So some other graphs that you can show here, and I do have a drill down that I created that will kind of show us more history per device, right? This is kind of what we want. So this device, it's connected to this gateway, and this is the EUI, so I can find it on my network server as a location. And I have this kind of graph. It looks a little messy at first, but it's really cool, for example, to see airtime, right? So this one, airtime is not configured. Forget about airtime for now. These are the channels, right? This is how LoRaWAN works. Keep changing channels, right? So it's kind of cool. So I could potentially see if a device is stuck to some channels, or if some channels are not working, I might have interference issues. SNR and RSSI, it's kind of cool to see they're kind of similar to each other, right? You see the patterns are very similar to each other. So this device is doing fairly well, but it's also fluctuating a lot, so I could learn something from that. And this, of course, I can just see the raw data coming from this device over history, and I can learn a lot from that as well. And yeah, so I don't have any alarms right now, but I could set up alarms. So with that said, I would want to show you now how to build such a solution yourself, so you can start experimenting with it yourself. So actually, in about 5 slides, we'll get this whole solution done, right? So the first thing you need to do is to get yourself a network server. and you need to install it yourself, or you can open an account on TTN, or you can use TTI as well, etc., etc. After we've done that, you need to get yourself a running instance of ThingsBoard CE, the Community Edition. They also have a demo site. I'm not sure if they limit the accounts on there or not, but you can get started with that for sure. You can also install it yourself with all the different installation options that you have. So we have those two things ready. We have an account and 2 accounts ready to go. Now what we need to do is to create the IoT gateway in ThingsBoard, right? So it's a special kind of device that we create there, and we grab the token from it. So I'll show you quickly how to do that. In ThingsBoard, you will add a new device. Add a new device, right? Okay, let's call it TV Gateway 2. And I will select a profile that I've created for it. And make sure I give it a checkpoint. It's a gateway, right? I add this device. And then what I will need to do is just grab the access token for this guy. Okay, let me open here a little, save all this information on the side so we can use it in a moment here. Okay. So this is my TB Gateway token, right? Token. Okay. Next, we're going to grab some Mqtt application keys from TTN, right? So this is where we do that. So you've created an application, you added your devices to it, you go to integration and MQTT. Here we have all the information that we need. Okay, so we're gonna just grab it and save it aside for in a moment where we're going to use it. So TTN public server. And we need our username. And we're going to click and generate a new API, which is the password here. So we just did that. Okay. Okay, so we got this information, username API, it looks like that. Next, we're going to install the NB-IoT gateway on a Raspberry Pi. Okay, it's actually 3 commands to get it going, actually 2, and 1 to just make sure it's actually working. So let me get my terminal here. So let's connect to a Raspberry Pi I have here on the local network. So since I already have a gateway installed on it, I will skip these first 2 commands, but you pretty much just grab the file with wget, you download it, the latest release, and you install it. Sorry about that. Where did you go? Always on top. And then we can check our status. Okay, just a moment, just to make sure it's running. System control. Restart it, and let's see the logs. Okay, so it's going. Soon we're going to look at the logs in a deeper level. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is to configure our gateway. It's pretty simple to do. We go into the gateways, show you the instructions while I'm typing them. So we're going to configure the main config file and the MQTT connector file. So we go to the configuration directory here, and we're going to edit this file, TB Gateway YAML. I use Nano. I know some people like to use VI. Good for them. I like the colorness of this guy. So what we need to configure here is our host name for the ThingsBoard installation. So if you're using the cloud demo, then you just do the demo ThingsBoard, ThingsBoard.io here. If you install it yourself, then you need to put in your URL and port. We're doing the non-secure port for now, but we'll harden it later. And the next thing I need to put in here is my access key, right, that we grabbed earlier. Another thing we need to do here is to enable the MQTT connector. So we just need to delete the comment out. So we need to delete the comment in, and we're good to go. OK. Finally, we will need to grab the template I prepared for you for MQTT JSON, which will do the mapping between the ThingsBoard MQTT, the TTN MQTT app packets, and ThingsBoard format. So I want to spend a few moments showing you that as well. But for now, let's have a quick look here at the general settings that we need to change. So as you can see, we're going to change here our host, which is the EU. If we're using TTN, this is the host and the port. And our username and password is the API that we grabbed before. OK. The next thing we're going to do here is in the template I prepared for you, we will have a topic filter, right? So each application in TTN will have to have its own map in here, right? We can't listen to all the messages that go through our TTN account. It has to be per application. This is the name of the application. So this is the only thing that you will need to change here, really, is the name of the application. We're listening to any devices sending the app link communication. And this is what I spent some time doing. It's pretty much the mapping. So I want to see if I have an example of what a packet like this looks like. So a packet from TTN looks like this. This is an MQTT packet, right? So we have all kinds of information here. Device ID, application ID, device address. We got the app, the counter, the payload, and the gateway ID, the gateway UI, right? So this is all the nice information we want to store inside of ThingsBoard. So we, by the way, guys, I know I'm going a little over with the session, so I apologize. We can probably be done within 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. So bear with me if you can. I hope you're getting a lot from this session. I will have a quick look at the chat in a moment here. So all this information is what I mapped. And the way to map it looks sort of like this. Let's see if I can open it in here, because it took me a moment to figure it out, right? So you open a dynamic variable like this, and you use this notation to chain it into deeper levels into the JSON object, just using the dot notation here. So I created attributes for stuff that I just want to see the latest and what's currently set up as. And I created time series data for anything I want to keep in the history and in the databases time series data. And here I can select the type of variable, right? If it's a string, if it's float, I'll use double. And if it's just a number, I'll use integer. So frequency, payload, latitude, longitude, RSSI. This is not the most updated copy, so there's some repetition here. So this is everything I have here, and I will provide you guys with a link to download this setup, so it's easy for you to get started. OK. So we configured everything out, OK? And if you want more data, more configuration options, you can look it up here. So we restarted the gateway, and then let's look at our logs. And I did see some errors here, but let's see if something changed. I think that we are good to go. OK, so let's look at these logs real quick, because you might run into them as well. We got our connection here. Subscribe. Thumbs up, guys. We managed to get some data already from a few devices that are sending on these topics. So we are good to go. This is what you are looking for. I can tell you that at first, I was trying to do the secured MQTTS, and I was missing some files there. So none of this was happening, and I was breaking my head on it for a while. But eventually, I just changed the port number. So first, we start with something working, and then we scratch our head on how to harden it, security, and get all the certification going and everything, right? So now, let's see, what did I write here? So this is what I show you, right? We can look at the logs to make sure that we're good to go. These are the commands, so I provided them some information here. Guys, that's pretty much that part of grabbing, creating our awesome gateway to grab data in live. It's MQTT connection. As it comes to the TTN, right, it goes into ThingsBoard. So I'm going to take a break and look at the chat, and you can ask me any questions. Before we continue, yes, I will provide you with the links. I was going to have, yeah, if I had that, yeah, I thought my presentation was going to be in like starting at 4 my time. So I will provide you with all the files, don't worry. And I also will show you where to find me, and we can keep going on that. Addressing the issue, yes, awesome, Alan. Yes, and yeah, LoRaWAN, I think when I think about what I want to see in a network monitor, I'm thinking about LoRaWAN, and I'm thinking about what's already there. So, okay, let's go. Change my screen here, optimize that. Cool. So what do we have going on here? So this part, also, I'm going to provide you with the files, and the slides and everything is going to be on my LinkedIn, and I'll show you in a moment where we can continue this conversation. I will let you grab obviously the dashboard, and the way you do it is pretty simple. You download this file, and in Thingsboard, you will just go here into dashboards, and you will import the dashboard, drag it into here, right? And that's pretty much it. You have it. So we just want to make sure that we have the profile set up correctly. So in profiles, this whole dashboard, I will give you another deep dive into Thingsboard. So in Thingsboard, you set up aliases, right? And then it's quite a flexible tool to be able to kind of show different, like all devices, right? I want to show all of my devices that are in the system under my permission in a single widget. So we create an alias for it. And this alias, it just says, get me everything that answers to this condition, which is device type, LP1 device. That's what I called it. And I resolve it as multiple entities. So it will load up any widget on here that can handle a group of devices, like a list. We'll use this alias, right? So for this to work, my devices that are coming in need to have this device profile. Now, if you look at the code for the MQTT configuration here, I hard-coded this in here, right? I hard-coded, this is the type, which is now referred to as a profile, but up to last release in Thingsboard, it was a type. It's hard-coded. So if you use this template, it should work for you out of the box, and when you download and import everything in. But you can also manually create and change and make your own customizations, of course. So here it is. So I want to show you another cool feature about profiles in Thingsboard. So you can create alarm rules. And I'm only getting started with this customizing. So I just did a quick one for this workshop. We're just doing a connectivity, right? Device activity. So we did a condition here that is if active, which is a status that is automatically updated in Thingsboard if device is active or inactive, right? So there's an inactivity timer, which will go false and true when a new message comes in. So it's a simple alert if it's inactive, if it equals to false for 10 minutes, create this critical alert, named device activity alert critical. If it's active, true again, so it will clear the alert. So this is a cool feature here in Thingsboard. It's actually pretty new. I just deleted it. I didn't want to delete it. I want to show that I can also create more rules, right? So I can have an additional rule based on packet loss, or based on SF, or based on battery, which reminds me another little thing. So if we were to put a decoder inside your LNS, where are you? So I can put it on the application level, or I can put it on the payload formatter, right? There you are. So if I was to put a decoder here, this data will also become available in Thingsboard. So if there's a battery reporting or other data that you want to use in Thingsboard, by all means, you could turn Thingsboard into your full application for whatever you're providing to your customers, or keep it separate. On that, I would also say that if you're using a different platform or a different application for your customers, you could create an integration for each. So both of them can listen to the same MQTT. You will want to use a different client name probably, but or a different API key, but you can have the data routing to wherever you want. Okay, so let's keep going here. So we created rules. I show you about aliases and states. I want to show you another cool configuration that we did here inside the dashboard, and we're pretty much done. And Alan, I guess you didn't see this before, so I'm showing it to you now. This is just the work of me over the last 3 days, kind of setting it up, right? So I parsing the data from the network server, and I'm showing it here as a list with the relevant information. I'm showing the status. I like colors to show me if there is an issue, there isn't an issue. Let's say this guy, it's inactive. Why is this guy inactive? So first of all, I should have seen an alert for it come up, but I guess I didn't finish the configuration correctly. But I should see an alert, and I can also easily connect in the rule chain alert to an email. So still work to do here. This guy seems like it only sent one payload, and then it stopped. So obviously there's something wrong with it, right? So I need to go and see if it's configured correctly, if the gateway is online. Gateways. So I did tell you we should monitor gateways. Monitoring gateways when it comes to working with your network server, it's hard because you need to, they don't publish gateway events per se in the MQTT. So you need to work with the API. I started working it. I will probably release a free tool with this as well, some script that kind of listens to the events of the gateway and pushes them into the IoT gateway of Things board as well. So we need to have also a gateway entity in here, right? It's very important to have a gateway in here. Just if you do download this and you're asking, where is the dashboards? Why I only see one of them? So once you go into edit mode, you will see here 2 states, right? So there's a thing called states, and we can configure a widget to take you from the main view to another state. This is exactly what we're doing here, right? So we're going from the main dashboard into another state to see what is happening here. Okay, so I think enough things boards for now. Let's see. Yes, just quickly a discussion, and then we can have a quick chat as well. So this is a proof of concept. It shows you the usefulness of network monitors and why we need them. It shows you how it's not that complicated, but it's also the beginning of something, and some ideas that I have about adding to this tool are a gateway monitor and alert space. So I definitely see it as your main dashboard. You should see all your gateways, as much information as you can about your gateways. You should be able to filter by application, of course. You should see battery as well and link budget alerts. I definitely want to calculate the packet rate and to know if a device is sending 10 packets per hour. So I can calculate the packet loss and get alerts based on that. Email alerts, downlink integration. We might want to do some smart dynamic changes to a device based on what we're seeing here. UI improvement. So this workshop, this tool kind of came up for me building this workshop. If you want to continue the conversation about it, I opened a quick Telegram group. This is the link for it. You can also hit me up on LinkedIn, also on the Slack for the Things Network. And we can discuss. You know, I'm all game to continue this work on this tool and to release it as a little open source project for people who want to experiment with it. Quick thank you to obviously the Things Network for holding this awesome conference and getting all of us together in here. It's been awesome. Things board for providing this awesome stack. Rack for giving me a cool gateway to play with and experiment with. And for you guys for waiting for me to get my shit together and hop on the call, and for sticking with me until now. So I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, I'll be taking them now for a few more minutes and letting you go to your next session. So thank you. I'm so used to have I wish I could get you guys on here. If you want to share your video and ask some questions in live, that's fine. Yes, I would put the Telegram and LinkedIn group thing here. And I will make the slides available for you and those files as well. So it will be in the YouTube video for this and on my LinkedIn probably tomorrow. So thank you, appreciate it. Yes, how scalable is the setup and ThinkBoard CE? Yes, okay, great. So actually, Derek, I'm answering your question. So it's pretty awesome. I mean, if you look at the deployment options, you can do Kubernetes and deploy it, and it's scalable. If you are using the open source, then you can also have the core. So their microservice architecture is really, really cool. So if you're using the open source, I really love it. I kind of like, feeling the technology with my hands, kind of like we like to run ThinkBoard stack as well. It's awesome. So and you really learn to appreciate good software and good code and good teams working behind those projects. Yeah. Looking for any other questions, or I'll let you guys go to the next one. Yes, I will publish on my yes, this workshop will be on the main stage. I'm not sure, but I will publish on my LinkedIn and on the re-release of this on the YouTube. So sorry, you know what? Hold on a second. I can give you the link to the presentation right now because it's on my Google Present. So just give me a second. I'm sharing with you right now. Hold on. Yes, I didn't think of it before. No problem. Okay, I think I have it. Anyone? Yeah, okay, just a second. There you go. And of course, the Telegram. Yes, I was considering where we should continue the discussion, and I'm really for building this further on. So I thought Telegram or Signal would be the easiest and most fun way to continue. So this would be to join the Telegram session here. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. I worked hard on this presentation. You know, and I almost missed it too. Yeah. So I appreciate your good feedback. Thank you very much. And yeah, hit me up, and we can arrange more discussion and more workshops if you want to learn more about ThinkBoard or TTN, whatever. I'm all for it. Yeah, and I'm curious to hear if you guys are already playing with the V3 stack. I saw some of the team here. So yeah, my experience so far with the V3 stack, it's been interesting. We're having some issues with it, but it's also working well. So I guess it's still, I don't know if they consider it beta or not, but I'm working with the team at TTI to figure all of it out. But it's a great step for the community, for sure. Okay, so I sent you all the information, Telegram, docs, the files. Give me like 10 minutes after the workshop, and all the little files in the presentation will also be available on my, yeah. So hit me up, guys, and if you want to continue working on this tool, I'm all for it. So again, thank you very much.